game. That was a lot more of what I actually would like to see. A lot more of the type of game that is watchable, maybe is a term that I would use. I think maybe we'll do landscape next time. I don't know. There's a lot going on behind me that we won't do landscape. Hopefully this is working. Hopefully there's some sort of chat box that I can view the chat too, hopefully, if you could put the chat stuff in there. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and talk. We'll figure out the YouTube situation later. But let me start with the elephant in the room, I guess, over this game. And that is simply that this team's missing a lot of players. Like, there's no argument that, yes, we can see it. Nice, I can see all the comments. All right, sweet. Look at this. This is like a real live feed that doesn't suck. What do you know? Okay. So the elephant in the room is all the players that are missing for Colorado. There's no argument that without Mikko Rantanen and Brendan Saad and Grubauer and Don Skoy, and even if you want to go further down the list and talk about Bowen Byram and Eric Johnson and these types of guys, Logan O'Connor, there's an argument to be made that that is not exactly the team you're going to get. However, there's also an argument to be made that this is always Colorado. And I'm not one who's going to say, like, well, I expect them to be injured come the second round. I really don't. But there is an argument to be said that this is not what you're facing, so what you face today doesn't necessarily translate into winning a series against them. However, if you take a step back off of that and you say they still had Nathan McKinnon, they still had Gabe Landeskog, Cale Makar's still out there, their goalie isn't that much better than the one that they had in there, there's a reason to take what happened in this game and actually do believe it and take some stock out of it. I am with everyone that wants to say, they're missing players. You can't read all the way into it. And the way I've told other people is it would basically be as if Vegas didn't have Pacioretty, White Cloud, Tuck, and they're starting Malcolm Subban. Like, that's effectively what you're looking at. And I get that. But at the same time, the way that Colorado plays, whether they have their depth in place or not, is going to be a lot like what we saw. And there were moments in this game that I liked. There were moments in this game that I did not like. For the most part, this was the type of game that you look at and you say, there are moments. Yeah, I mean, okay, should I turn it sideways? Oh, no. Oh, see, now it's locked. Oh, what a mess. All right, well, I'll make it sideways on the next one. Oh, God, don't put me on your TV. That sounds terrible. We'll fix the next one. I guess this is the new way we're going to do this, and enough people seem to be getting onto this that we'll figure it out. But the beginning of the game, so obviously they've dropped the puck. The Golden Knights go right down, score the goal 10 seconds in. That's great. Like, that's what you're looking for. There's no argument that there's nothing wrong with that. You're pumped about that. I don't think that's something you can rely on a lot, but this is something the Golden Knights have done at different times that has been successful, that we've seen it happen before. So that is something that I wouldn't rely on that, but it would be nice to be able to get those goals. They were able to get that one real quick. I think a lot of that has to do with the goalie being terrible. That's why they can't get a lot of those goals against the Sharks. That's helpful. Now, the rest of that first period, I think, is really what you want to focus on in this game, and then into the second period. The portion that I thought was really interesting was the way Vegas dominated the style of play early. Vegas has the ability, when playing their best, to get after teams, to be in their offensive zone, to live in their offensive zone, to make life very, very difficult on whoever they're playing against quickly. And it can be sustained. And when they have three lines that have the offensive success that this team has with the current roster as it's set up, when healthy, they are very dangerous to deal with when they're living in your own zone. The problem is, when you do that against Colorado, you have to capitalize, and you cannot make mistakes, because when you live in their zone, a quick turnover can turn into a 3-on-2, 2-on-3, whatever it happens to be, and that's how you're going to be behind the eight ball. That's how you're going to put yourself in a position where you're playing Colorado's style of game. Early in this game, the way that it was going, Vegas had the jump. They looked like the much better team. They looked like what they wanted to do, and they were able to drag Colorado into a situation where they're taking penalty after penalty after penalty, and Vegas had the ability to immediately basically win that game straight out. I don't think that's what happened because they were not able to get their power play goals. The power play didn't really do much at all. And in many ways, that flipped the game the other way. And that put the Golden Knights in a position that actually could have potentially hurt them moving down the road as that period went on. That's when the game completely flipped to exactly what Colorado wants to do. And that's what has to scare you watching a Golden Knights Colorado game is when you see it going that way. You see McKinnon doing what he can do in the offensive zone. You see the activation from Makar, from Girard, and they put themselves in position. Even Nemeth was doing it a little bit today. When they put themselves in position to move their defensemen around, to challenge you with their wingers and their center coming all the way up to the point and different things, different looks, they're very, very difficult to deal with, and they are excellent in and around the goal. So you don't want to let them in that position often. That, I don't think, is something the Golden Knights have to worry about all that much. If there's moments where Colorado has some good shifts here and there, that's not going to be the end of the world. It's the second period that was the one that was really troublesome to me, that then they initially flipped it right around. That was the part that I thought, this is how the Golden Knights can win the series against this team. And even with Colorado getting their players back, this is the style. There was a little bit of the blueprint. It really ramped up in the third period, but the reason I think it ramped up so much in the third period is because Vegas was up 2. Once Vegas goes up by 2, they really like to sit back, really like to take care of the puck, and really like to make sure that you have no chance to ever get any sort of a break. When they play like that, they simply do not allow goals very often. Think back to how often the Golden Knights have given up a goal when they've sat in their defensive zone for extended periods of time. Not really how they give up goals. It's even less how they give up goals when Leonard's in the game over Fleury. Every once in a while, you'll get the one shot from the point, gets tipped, or goes all the way through. Those are a little bit more likely on Fleury than they are Leonard. But I don't think that's the part of the game that really matters all that much. The part of the game that matters the most for the Golden Knights is when they play this defensive style. The question is, how often is Colorado going to give you chances? And in this game, I thought you saw exactly how often Colorado is going to give you those chances. And the answer is a lot. Quite often, more often than you would possibly think. And then it comes down to burying some of those chances. Vegas did a great job in doing that. Throughout the beginning of the second period, Vegas was allowing the center of the ice to be open. And I mean 2 different centers of the ice when I say that. First of all, I physically mean the center portion of the ice. So from goal to goal, inside of the circles, all the way through the center of the ice. It's the quickest route from goal to goal. It's the most dangerous place in the ice. That's where a lot of the goals come from. But there's also the center, if you tilt it horizontally, and you talk about just the neutral zone. That's the zone that the Golden Knights have to win every single game. Every game, the Golden Knights have to win the neutral zone. When they play against the Ducks, the Sharks, the Kings, the Coyotes, even the Blues most of the time, they dominate the neutral zone, and there's never times where these teams can get consistent rolling shifts offensively against the Golden Knights, because when they come out, Vegas comes out with them. They challenge back through the neutral zone. They don't have the stick handling. They don't have the speed to get through Vegas's neutral zone. In this game, throughout the beginning of the second period, Colorado had it. They were doing it. Fleury came up with a couple big saves. They had a couple good defensive sticks in the back door. They did a number of good things defensively inside of their zone, but it was very scrambly. And if you think of the last maybe 8 minutes of the first period into the first about 7 or 8 of the second period, that's what Colorado wants. And that's where I look at, how can Vegas avoid the middle of the ice being open? How can they put themselves in a position where they are not given that? And the answer to me is play like you did in the third. In the third, Vegas was not concerned about scoring at all. And now you look back and you think Riley Smith had the breakaway. They had a 2-on-1 opportunity that came out of the Stone Pacioretty one that they get the 2-on-1. There was a break that ended up not fully being a break that Marchessault won a race down the other side. You had these options. And this is how I think Vegas has the ability to take away Colorado's speed. They always talk about taking away time and space from McKinnon. You can't do it all over the ice. He's too fast. Forechecking McKinnon is probably not a good idea. Forechecking Makar is probably not a good idea. Forechecking either of them when they're both on the ice is really not a good idea. And the reason for that is because if they beat you, now you have to rip apart your 5-man unit. You simply cannot put yourself in a position where you have to have the center chasing and a winger or a defenseman pick up Makar or McKinnon coming through the center of the ice. If you do that, it immediately opens things up. They're going to get a chance directly off of it. You're going to have to recover out of it. They're going to get chance after chance after chance, and they're going to be way more dangerous when they have all of their players. When they have Byram as an option, when they have Rantanen as an option, Donskoy, Saad, when they have more of their players, they're going to be even more dangerous. So my thought is simply play the defensive style like you were able to play in the back half of the third period in this game and allow them to A, get frustrated, and B, hand you chances. When they hand you chances, you have to finish them. That's something the Golden Knights have been hit or miss on. At times, last season, they were more miss on it. Postseason, certainly miss on it. This season, they've been fairly good on it. They've been, I would argue, very good on it. Today, they were excellent on it. When they got their opportunities, they were able to get forward and get the chances and finish the chances. And I agree with Skyler there saying that shots on goal is deceiving. I don't think Vegas needs to win shots on goal to win the games against Colorado. I think what they have to do is they have to make sure that they're not giving up breaks. They're not giving up rushes. They're not giving up opportunities where Colorado can play with speed. That leads to penalties. You saw the one that Stevenson took on Kadri, and I want to talk a little bit about Kadri as we go on here. You can't have it. When they're coming out of their zone and it's a 3-on-2 and you're chasing, you're going to make mistakes. Whitecloud had a trip. You've had different opportunities and situations where you're going to put yourself in the box. Luckily, the Golden Knights penalty kill is so good that I'm not that worried about putting yourselves in the box too often against this team, but you can't do it all that often because then you're going to be wasting minutes on Mark Stone, wasting minutes on William Karlsson in penalty kill situations where you need him in the offensive zone. This YouTube Live, is that what I'm calling it? This live stream, or whatever the hell I'm calling it, is brought to you by Conler and Associates CPAs. Have questions about unemployment, stimulus checks, PPP loan forgiveness? Give Conler CPAs a call or go to conlercpa.com. Tell them SinBin sent you, and they'll give you a free consultation. Tax day is May 17th. So if you haven't done your taxes yet, you're down to like 3 weeks. And why would you do your taxes when Conler and Conler CPAs, the Conler family, and the rest of the Conler CPAs, Conler and Associates, will do them for you? So go there right now. Well, don't go there right now. Go there when this is over, because if you go there right now, I think you have to leave this. Unless you have one of those fancy pants phones where you can do 2 things at once. And if you're on the computer, definitely go there, conlercpa.com, and get your taxes done. And if you filed and have unemployment on your tax, they might be able to get you some money back. Good stuff. Okay, so let me talk about the matchups today, because I thought the matchups were very interesting and how they rolled it out and how well the Golden Knights were able to get their matchups on the ice today, and then what you saw happen. Yeah, I'm sure they can get you an internship. Call them up, go to Conler CPA, call them, go into the office and say, SinBin decided that I should be able to get an internship. I don't think I'm freezing. Hopefully I'm not freezing. I don't know. There seems to be enough people in here that it must be going so well. I will talk about Colorado's depth. When you're missing 6 usable players, no shit, their depth isn't good. But let me go back to the matchups. The way the matchups worked out today, the Golden Knights were really able to get Karlsson, Marchessault, and Smith on it was today, McKinnon, Landeskog, and Burakovsky for the most part. When they were able to get that, the Golden Knights were not necessarily drowning. They weren't exactly thriving in those situations, but they weren't drowning. They did not give up a goal when they had that matchup, and they kept enough of the chances to the outside, to the really high danger chances were not there all that often, and that allowed Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, and Chandler Stevenson opportunities to play against everyone else. That was what the Golden Knights got in this game. They very rarely had to have Pacioretty, Stone, and Stevenson out there against McKinnon and Landeskog. And Makar, who makes a huge difference because when he is skating, you have to be able to carry the puck in. Something that line does very well, but if they're playing with good gaps, it's hard to carry the puck in. You have to dump it in behind them. It's really difficult. It's much easier to do it as you go down their defensive lineup, as you get opportunities against the Nazem Kadris, as you get opportunities against Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, those types of chances. That is where you can see Mark Stone go from what he's had in 6 games, very little against this team, to today exploding for a bundle of opportunities, a bundle of chances, tons of transition chances, living in the offensive zone. That's because you're getting positive shifts out of Carlson, Marchessault, and Smith. And for the most part today, Pietrangelo and Martinez. I thought they were just so-so. I thought Carlson, Marchessault, and Smith were very good. Whitecloud, to me, was the best defenseman the Golden Knights had in this game. I thought he was very steady in his own end, did a good job making sure that he helped get the Golden Knights out of dangerous situations as often as possible. He did take the 1 penalty, but for the most part, he is, to me, proving to be that option. The problem is they don't have a left-handed guy to go with him. I don't think you want Haig in those situations, and that's why maybe you're getting more out of Whitecloud because he's seeing better matchups. But the main thing to me is in this game, the Golden Knights did well to catch the matchup they wanted. They want Carlson on the ice with McKinnon as often as physically possible because that line is so consistent with how they play offensively and so consistent with how they back check that you're not really all that worried about getting breaks against it. Think about how often, specifically in the back half of the game, you saw McKinnon skating full speed. It didn't happen all that often, and that's because there's 5 guys behind the puck. When there's 5 guys behind the puck, there's not a lot of space. He has to give it up. You can gap up. You can put yourself in a good position. That then leads to giving the opportunities to Stone, Pacioretty, and Stevenson. And then, in theory, as series go on, as you get more games, you're going to see more of Tuck, more of Janmark. They had a couple chances. And then, hopefully, a 4th line that's more usable once you get Nosek and Waugh back. That's where Colorado's depth is massively lacking in this game. Because they're missing all of these options, Golden Knights actually had the deeper team in this game. That's why when they were able to get a good shift out of Carlson, Marchessault, and Smith, turn it over immediately to Stone, they were getting high danger chances and 4 or 5 goals in this game. You cannot rely on that consistently when you play against a full-strength Colorado team. Of course, today, take your win, take your 6-point lead, hang your banner in T-Mobile Arena that you're going to win the West Division again, take your easier first-round matchup, take your Game 7 at home, take your Game 1 and Game 2 at home. I'm not trying to take away anything from this win. The Golden Knights had to be good enough to win this game to put themselves in a position to win the division. They did that. But they cannot simply rely on what they did over the first 30 minutes of this game to win a series against Colorado. The main thing is puck management. The Golden Knights were not good enough in puck management in the first half of the game because they were playing a style that led into what Colorado can do best. When you turn the puck over in the offensive zone, it leads to quick transition. It leads to chances. When you turn it over in the neutral zone, it immediately leads to chances. When you turn it over in the defensive zone, you're basically dead in the water of the second you do it. That we saw too much of early in this game. It led to I think it led to both of their goals, actually, the Colorado goals. And those are chances that the Golden Knights have to stay away from. The big thing to me is I don't think over the course of a series, Colorado can score consistently enough to beat Vegas if Vegas has 5 players behind the puck. They have to get rush chances. They have to get break chances. If you stay behind them enough, if you play enough of a defensive style of game, you can limit what they do. And I think you saw it in this game. I wanted to talk about Kadri. When things don't go well for McKinnon, for Kadri, there's a couple of other guys. I think Comfer can get dragged into it a little bit. You've seen Nichushkin get dragged into it a little bit. I don't remember who the guy was at the end of the game today, 44. Who's 44 on somebody put in whoever 44 was on Colorado. I can't remember who it was. Took the shot in that last shift I want to say it was Carrier, which is weird that he would do that, but whatever. You can drag Colorado into a game in which they get frustrated. If you frustrate Colorado, Count, that's right. If you frustrate, he might be 61. Who's 44? Somebody look that up for me. If you frustrate them, you will lead them into situations where they will hand you chances. The one I think most jumps off the page to me is the one where the puck was shot directly into Mark Stone's shin. He goes out, gets the 2-on-1. They get the break. Stone's going to make a good pass there. Pacioretty's going to hammer that thing home. That's a replicable goal. That's an opportunity. Girard, I think, is 48. So I don't think it was Girard either. Those are the opportunities. Was it Sherwood? Yeah, Sherwood. See, then that's a guy that's probably not even in the lineup, and a guy that you can frustrate because he's out there to go, send a message, and maybe that doesn't transfer over. But you saw it from Kadri today. Kadri had a cross check to Janmark's face. Kadri had a couple times where he gets put in a bad position defensively, and they take advantage of him there. I thought Kadri got beat a little bit straight off draws, where they were able to take advantage of him trying to push offense too much, get opportunities where they get clean breakouts, easy breakouts, because he's trying to do too much. As they push the lineup down, as he becomes the third line center as opposed to the second line center, that's where they become more dangerous. But the key is you can frustrate this team. You can play a defensive enough style to make it so that they have to come up and force offense more often than they want to. They're going to be fine living in your zone. But as it takes longer and longer and longer for them to score, they're going to start taking more and more risks. And that's where I think for the Golden Knights, they can simply take advantage of Colorado giving them opportunities, as opposed to what we see a lot of this season with the way the Golden Knights have played and the way I think they are going to need to play against Minnesota, against St. Louis, whoever it happens to be. Certainly seems like it might now be St. Louis. Against them, you're going to need to generate your offense. You're going to need to find a way to get enough goals in these games to generate your offense. I think against Colorado, they're going to force offense so much that you'll get some just by playing the right way, by being in the correct shape, by coming out of your zone consistently, by being clean in your breakouts. I think that's going to happen. We saw it a number of times today. Of course, catch them on these opportunities early in the game, on that breakaway, catch them in some situations where you get the chance on the power play. These are the places where the Golden Knights can steal goals, and they can play a style against the Avs where they win 2-1, as opposed to trying to play what they have played in the past against the Avs, where it's a 4-3 style of game. That's the style I want to play. That's what I saw. There was some of that blueprint, and I'm going to write a little bit about it tomorrow, kind of showing that the key is the Golden Knights can't be thinking 2 zones ahead. They have to think about whatever their zone is, get it to the next one, and do it successfully. When you get to the offensive zone, now you can start thinking about scoring. But normally, the Golden Knights like to be in the defensive zone, hit that stretch pass, and quickly create a goal scoring chance. I think against Colorado, you're going to put yourself in a bad position to do that. Somebody asked what the weaknesses are against St. Louis. There's really one thing that concerns me about St. Louis, and we'll go into this way more if we end up getting that series, but the main thing that concerns me about St. Louis is that top line. O'Reilly and Perron and whoever they put next to him doesn't really make a difference. They are dangerous and they can take away good opportunities from the Golden Knights. They can score against the Golden Knights. They can put the Golden Knights behind the 8 ball if they let them take over. So Vegas has to figure out, how do we make sure we're never on the wrong side of the matchup, either at home or on the road? We cannot be on the wrong side of this matchup. That's how you beat St. Louis. If Vegas does that consistently, St. Louis will have no answers for them. Vegas is deeper than St. Louis. Vegas is better goaltending than St. Louis. I think Vegas is better defensively. St. Louis, I think as a whole, they don't scare me all that much at all. It's just, how do you make sure they stay away from allowing Perron and O'Reilly to take over the series? Because if you do that, then you're going to start forcing your matchups defensively. Then you're going to start allowing Tarasenko chances and Thomas chances and down their lineup. Sammy Blais is a good player at times. They can put themselves in a position where they can get some of that going against you. You have to be careful that you're getting the right matchups against those guys. In the end, to be honest, I'm not all that concerned about St. Louis at all. If it's St. Louis, I'm probably going to pick Vegas in 5. I don't really think it's all that much of a challenge. The more I watch the way that Minnesota plays, I watched a lot of that game today, I'm not all that concerned about the way Minnesota plays and how Vegas can go at them in a playoff series. I think over the course of a series, Vegas will be able to gum up the neutral zone enough against them. It won't be a problem. I think against St. Louis, Vegas plays the exact style that they want to play. They roll lines over, they take away that top line, and they're just going to live in the offensive zone. I think Vegas will smoke St. Louis over the course of a 7-game series. Maybe they don't win every game. Maybe it goes to 5 or 6. It doesn't really matter to me. As long as you're getting that win, I'm not all that concerned about it. What I remain concerned about is, what is the lineup going to look like and how are you going to match up against Colorado? I thought today, because of how much Colorado was missing, you were able to get away with a fourth line of Carrier, Kolesar, and Dylan Coghlan. To me, that's not going to work. I think they have to work their fourth line in making themselves in a position where they're literally only playing one of Carrier, Kolesar, or Reeves. I think they can only afford one. I don't mind having one, but I think you have gone overboard against Colorado if they're healthy in playing more than one. That's the part that scares me. That's why when I see these moments of Vegas being able to dig in defensively, and you have the shifts where the Janmark, Janmark, Tuck, and Sikora line are able to live in their defensive zone and deal with it and get out and give a better situation to the line behind him. When Carlson's in their own zone, I'm not all that concerned. Stone's in his own zone, I'm not all that concerned. I think they have to look at that series a little bit differently than how they've looked at other ones in the past. You're not going to get the offensive zone time. You're probably not even going to outchance them. What you want to do is you want to out super dangerous chance them. You want to make it so that they're handing you chances and you take advantage of them and you do it safely. That's what scares me. Today, you didn't see a lot of Colorado getting out on the break. Second period, early in the period, you saw a lot more of it. That's when it felt like Vegas was treading water. That's when it felt like Vegas was in a position where they could potentially have lost that game. Then in the third, specifically once Vegas went ahead, that's where they gummed it up. They made it real difficult to ever get any more than a one-man advantage in a 4-on-3 situation, and even that was rare. For the most part, it was 5-on-4 or 4-on-3. It was even that. Most of the time, it was even 5-on-5 coming up the ice. That's what the Golden Knights want against Colorado. That's how they can beat Colorado. They can slow them down. They can take away the speed. They can utilize leaning on some of the heavier game. And Vegas can be and will be, in my opinion, the better defensive team in this series, not only because of the players, but also because they have the better goalie. Whether it's Grubauer or it's Dubnyk, whether it's Leonard or it's Fleury, Vegas has the better goalie. You have to utilize that to your advantage. If you're playing in an open game, even if they're dragging you into it, you've got to step back and play ultra conservative as often as possible. No turnovers in the neutral zone, no turnovers heading back towards your blue line in the offensive zone, and certainly no turnovers in the D zone. Do all of that, and the games can look like they did today. Don't, and it's the end of the first period, the beginning of the second period, and you will get slaughtered by this team. I honestly believe they have to go with that style. I'm not sure they're going to be willing to do it because I don't see it until Vegas gets the lead. Even in this game, they had the lead. They still played that up-tempo offensive style. They had a couple power plays that got away from them. They allowed the game to get stretched out. They allow there to be tons of ice over the course of the middle of the first to the end, or like middle first, middle second, that 20-minute gap. That's the part that scares me. I want to study it a little bit more and see exactly how they dragged him into it, but I think that's the part that you got to be careful with. The last thing I want to talk about is the 6-on-5 situation. I saw on Twitter, and then I kind of wanted to dig into it a little bit more, that a guy who covers the Colorado Avalanche is very good, AJ Hafley. I think I'm saying his name right. He said that the Avs are not very good in 6-on-5 situations. I went back and looked. They are not. They do not really create nearly as many chances as you would expect, especially for a team with that much skill. They don't score that game-tying goal all that often. It's an opportunity where if Vegas can get ahead, they've got the trump card at the back end of the game. That even in this game, you're up 2. They pull their goalie real early, and what happens? Vegas just locks it down. I don't even know that they got a dangerous chance throughout all of it, and Vegas hits the empty netter, game over, no big deal. Doesn't really matter when they pull their goalie. The earlier the better if you're Vegas. That's going to be the quicker we're going to get that shorthanded or empty net goal. That's what you're looking for. That's a huge advantage Vegas has. I think it's probably the best thing the Golden Knights do is defend in 6-on-5. When they're up and you pull your goalie, you don't have much of a chance to score. Nobody's done it against them all season long, and I don't think it's going to happen moving through the playoffs. That's a huge benefit, but you have to get there. And as much as you want to take massive amounts of stock out of this game, as much as you want to now say Vegas is up 4-3 on Colorado over the course of the season, and they are, and that is going to matter in getting them number 1 in the division. It is probably going to matter in getting them the opportunity to have the home ice advantage in that series, and hopefully they get past Colorado and it gets them the easiest Final Four team. I don't think you've seen what Colorado has to offer yet. And I think that the fact that DeBoer said it, Stone said it, Carlson said it, Pacioretty said it, all of them said these different things, I would argue they're aware of it as well, and the game plan has to be implemented even better than it did today. The puck management in the middle of the game today will lead you to losing. The puck management in the back end of the game today is what can have the Golden Knights winning this series in 6-7 games, whatever it happens to be. This is possible. Janmark is making a big difference. Stone is going to have to be dominant. The goalie is going to have to outplay whichever goalie is in there. I think all of that can happen. If it happens, the Golden Knights have a damn good shot if they put themselves in a position to play the right way. And I think they might end up doing it because they've had enough games and they've seen how it can go. That's all I've got today. Shout out to Conler CPA for sponsoring all of these, whatever we're calling them now, YouTube Lives, Periscopes, whatever the hell they're called now. ConlerCPA.com. Go there before May 17th and get your taxes done. Don't do your taxes yourself. Let them do it. Golden Knights win. Western Conference champs. It's on the way. It's happening again. 3 out of 4. Can't be mad about that. See ya.